We are now joined by one of the men of the hour, the gentleman we're discussing, the winner of the Iowa caucuses on the Republican side, Mike Huckabee, the former governor of Arkansas. Governor, congratulations, and congratulations on that engaging speech.
Well, thank you very much, Keith. It's a big night for us, but I think it's a bigger night for the people of the country who really do want to change the type of politics that maybe we've become used to. And I think the Democrats are showing the same thing with their process tonight.
Let me ask you about New Hampshire, Governor. What are your plans to compete up there? How do you intend to do well there as you did so well tonight in Iowa?
We have a geographical disadvantage in New Hampshire that we know, but we also have a message that resonates with people in New Hampshire. We don't have a whole lot of time to punch it home, but I think people in New Hampshire are going to be paying a lot of attention to us when they talk with us and we get a chance to talk about lowering taxes and changing the tax structure, which 80% of America wants to do, implementing a productivity elimination of taxes and instead going to consumption tax. People get that. They understand that they're being penalized for working harder, and that's counterintuitive to a good economy. People in New Hampshire believe in the Second Amendment. They want somebody who understands it, and I think our message will work well there. I don't know that I'll finish first, probably won't. Don't have to. But we're going to be competitive in New Hampshire, and that's what's important. We're still running first in South Carolina and in Florida, and I think tonight's going to boost us in all of those states.
What do you make of Mayor Giuliani's decision to sort of begin his campaign in Florida?
Well, the mayor's, got a different strategy than we do, and I respect it. And he looked at the landscape and thought, what does he need to do in order to get the nomination? And clearly he's betting on some of the bigger states. I think it'd be a little early to say, well, he made a mistake. No, he's doing his plan. I have to do mine. We're different candidates. I have great respect for the mayor. In fact, I personally am very fond of him. So I think until we see the process unfold through the first part of February, we won't know whether it's a mistake or not.
Governor, there were some issues, and you just raised this point yourself, that seem to overlap, at least in terms of tone, inclusiveness between you and Senator Obama in his victory speech tonight after what he did with the Democrats. I don't think anybody would be more delighted to see a positive, an entirely positive campaign. Is it practical even in these days? At some point, is there going to be blood drawn despite what you said tonight?
Now, Keith, you and Chris both know you'd love to see a good scrap if this thing got down to anybody. People like the tension and the conflict. Campaigns ultimately end up going there most of the time. I agree with you, though, if we could actually have that kind of civil discourse and an honest discussion about here are the differences we have, I think the country would win. And I think so many people in this country, though they say they respond to negative ads, the truth is they really do get sick of it. Iowa was just inundated with mail, with television ads. It just got disgusting. And I think there comes a point at which people just don't want to spend their whole political lives doing dumpster diving.
Well, you're making the news of the world tonight, Governor. I'm looking at the national, international headlines now. You're in Al Jazeera. You've won the press attention of Al Jazeera, along with Barack Obama. The International Herald Tribune, the Jerusalem Post. It describes you as a Baptist preacher turned politician. Wrote a wave of support from evangelical Christians to victory. Does that sound like an accurate description of your victory? The Jerusalem Post account. I wouldn't fight with them if I were you. But.
Yeah. Well, I think that was an AP account that was quoted in the Jerusalem Post.
You're right.
I think people will try to say, well, of course I am, Chris. Why do you doubt me?
Because I didn't know you were such an inveterate newspaper reader based in recent history. That's why.
That's why. Well, the fact is, there's going to be an attempt to say, oh, this is just the evangelical thing. I was a governor longer than I was a pastor. And in that time, we improved our roads and education system and health care. We did in our state what people are wanting to see happen in America. And when people try to say, oh, well, he's this Baptist minister turned politician. Now, what they really are understanding is, I was a governor, I led a state, we saw jobs created, we saw roads built, we saw a health care system improved, and they look at their own lives and say, what do we want in America? That's what they want, somebody who actually solves problems rather than just punches the daylights out of the other party. That's kind of polarizing and paralyzing politics is what people are sick of.
You were very successful in retail politics, as we say. It's sort of a David Broder term, retail politics, meaning people one-on-one, not relying on big media buys. In Iowa, how do you project that ability when you have to do like 10 states the same day, where you really have a hard time retailing all those big states?
Well, people still like retail politics, and though you may not be able to shake every single person's hand, if they know that you want to, if they know that when you talk to people, you look them in the eye and you really do care. As I said last night on Jay Leno, I think people are looking for a president that resembles the guy they work with, not the guy that, laid them off from their job. And when people feel like their president relates to them, actually cares what kind of life they're living, they don't have to personally see you. They just need to see that when you do talk to other people and when you talk to them, whether it's on television or in a speech or wherever it is.
Governor, looking at some of this entrance polling numbers, one jumps out at me here on political philosophy. That between those who identified themselves as very conservative and voted tonight and those who identified themselves as somewhat conservative, that's 35% and 34% respectively, unless my math has lost me here. That's nearly 70% voted for you. Is that 100% to your advantage as you go forward in the campaign, either in the Republican primaries or if you get to it in the general election? Or can that be as much of a negative as if the 70% of the liberals voted for you?
I think people, whether they're Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, I do think they want somebody who may not share all of their same views. They just want you to be consistent and believe your own stuff. And frankly, one of the things that I think is happening in this country, and maybe you're seeing it on both Democrat and Republican sides, is people are looking for somebody who is willing to say things that are a little unorthodox for their party. I mean, I'm talking about hunger and poverty and disease and the environment. And I got Republicans saying those aren't Republican topics. But my response is, oh, yes, they are, because they're American topics. It matters to people in America that we deal with issues like education and health care. And I'm not willing as a Republican to cede those over to the Democrats. That's one reason I believe we're doing as well as we are, because Republicans have kids. Republicans have health care concerns. Republicans pay 70 cents a gallon more this year than they did last year at the pump, and they're feeling it in their budgets and in their wallets. If we don't address those issues that are touching their families, we're not going to get elected next year. That's why I think we've got to be inclusive in our message as well as in how we approach those topics.
Not to overwhelm you on the religious questions, sir, but another statistic in here dovetails with something that happened, I think, to Governor Romney. Maybe it's my interpretation of things, maybe it isn't. But 56% of those who said that it matters to them a great deal that the candidate shares your religious belief, and 30% who said that there somewhat was true. That's 86% of those who voted tonight voted for you as opposed to anybody else in this, including Governor Romney. When Governor Romney made his speech that was ostensibly to explain his religious conviction, there was a specific reference almost in there to the necessity of having a religious conviction. And those who thought that that might be an inappropriately strong statement seemed to recoil from it, not just critics of the Republican Party, but people in the Republican Party as well. Do you think at some point you have to you would face a question of what do you do about those who do not share not necessarily your religious beliefs, but any religious beliefs or religious beliefs to the degree that you have expressed them?
No, I don't think Americans necessarily vote for or against somebody just because of their religion. At least I certainly wouldn't want to believe that, whether they vote for or against me or somebody else. I think they want, however, you to be consistent with your own religion. You know, I said on Bill Maher, and got a lot of people surprised and their eyebrows raised when I was asked about Pete Stark, a congressman from California, who's an openly declared atheist. And I said, that doesn't bother me. I'd rather have somebody who is an openly declared atheist who's honest about it than a person who claims to be a Christian but doesn't live like it. That's what disturbs me, is when people claim a faith and then they don't practice it. People are looking for authenticity, not necessarily someone who just absolutely goes right down the line of their own personal doctrine.
Well, amen to that is the only possible response. Governor Huckabee, congratulations.
I'll pass the plate, Keith, and since you're amening, I'll just pass the plate. We'll just have us a revival meeting right here.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be something? You and Chris Mattews giving to me.
Well, that would be something. Anyway, congratulations, Governor. It's a big night for you.
Thanks.